All right, here we are, November 1st. 5 days away from the political election here in the U.S. Here's the thing. Politics really bug me. It's the perfect cult. People that go hard in politics, and I get it. You know, it makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel like you're doing something greater than yourself. It makes you feel like you're making a difference. It makes you feel like you're participating in the pages of history. You know, politics is very powerful. And the way that it affects the common person is insane to me for multiple reasons. The first is this. I'm old enough to remember when the idea of severe partisan politics was an outlier. It wasn't the norm. It wasn't a huge deal which party you kind of assigned yourself to, right? There was like discussions, not really debates. People in Senate committee hearings were able to reach across the aisle and work together and talk to each other and not demonize each other. And what it's come down to now is an absolute cult. Let's go through the definition of a cult. And then if you're someone who participates in this political rhetoric and really, really cares, and you have your candidate and you know why you have them and you don't like the other person and blah, blah, blah. Let's just go through these real quick and then tell me you're not brainwashed. Here's some of the characteristics of a cult. Authoritarianism. Okay. Now this is a political ideology. Yes, but it's also the way that a political figure can operate with inside their party. And demonize their opposition. So if cults are led by an authoritarian figure with absolute power who is not held accountable, that's all politicians, really, at the end of the day. You know, you can be like, oh, well, Nixon didn't quite make that. Nixon was held accountable, and, presidents have had investigations into, certain federal crimes and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, sure, but nothing ever comes of it, really. No one gets arrested for the most part. They have immunity, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's the right or the left. They have blanket immunity. I've never seen a president go to prison for any federal crime. And that's probably because on a day-to-day basis, they're asked if they want to drone strike this village over here or if they want to drone strike this village over here. They are committing atrocities every day in the name of global freedom. So to, send them to prison for, tax records or a blowjob, that's a Bill Clinton reference, in case you're too young to know about LaMonica Lewinsky. It's isolation. Cults isolate members and punish them for leaving. Yeah. I think that is both true of the right and the left today in modern society. There are people literally going around trying to rip down people's signs in their yards. There are people who, if they want to kind of vote one way or think one way, they're completely ostracized by their friends and family. And it doesn't matter which side you're on. We don't even see each other as human beings anymore because the cult of politics has perfected its propaganda. Loyalty. That goes without saying. When's the last time you actually were able to talk to someone who had a political view, put forth intelligent arguments based on objective fact, remove the emotion from it, or try to appeal to their emotion, whichever. Both are valid debate tactics, and then change their mind about anything. People that are case in point, people that are into politics are fucking brainwashed. They utterly do not listen to logic, listen to history, listen to anything to tell them, hey, These people at the top do not give a shit about you. They do not care. They do not care about your rights. They do not care about your civil liberties. They do not care about the money in your bank account. They just want to siphon as much wealth and power for themselves and their future progeny as possible. And that is how power and the priesthood has always operated, and monarchs have always operated. And I mean, duh, you really think that in this country that's only about 250 years old, right? That we did it, that we nailed it out of what, 6,000 to 9,000 years of civilization? You think we finally got it? We finally got the one form of government that's immune to corruption and not going to fail and fall apart? Like, no, we don't. It's full of corruption. Financial secrecy. Cults do not provide meaningful financial disclosure about their budget or expenses. Well, that's pretty much where your taxes go. You ever heard of black sites? You know, the roads are still shit in LA and they take a lot of taxes. So, is there transparency in spending in the government? No, there is absolutely not, because they're not accountable to anybody, just like cults. No reason to leave. Cults make it seem like there's no legitimate reason to leave and that former members are always wrong. Yeah, because now what we've done is we've tied politics into virtue, principle, self-efficacy, and identity. We've tied it into the core pillars of what it means to be a human being. So if you change your mind about something, you're a hypocrite on the deepest level to those around you. You can't change your mind. And you can't just leave, because everyone wants to view themselves as a freedom fighter on the left and the right. It's insane. The big thing about this election coming up is the fight for democracy is on. Bro, no, it's not. Neither of these people care about you. There is no fight for democracy. And I'm going to get to that in a second. Let's keep going. Feeling inadequate. Cult members feel like they can never leave or be good enough. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And there's just like there's an overall admiration for some all holy, all knowing, all powerful figure at the top of the pyramid. That's just like the worshipful master, and you just venerate them to the point of like, oh my God, it's politics, bro. Oh my God, just stop. So let's get into something. It didn't used to be like that. As I mentioned, politics didn't used to be this really heated right versus left nonsense thing. It was just a political system. Some people really cared about it. Most people just accepted that politicians don't care about them. They're all corrupt. Their vote doesn't really count for shit. And that, at the end of the day, not too much happens in DC that really affects your daily life. That was the truth that people accepted. And people were better off for it. They were better off for it. And here's what bugs me. It isn't people that, it's the hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy of it. Because people will lose friends and family over politics. They will absorb themselves in biases beyond anything rational. And they will say things like, the fight for democracy is now, and you need to make a choice, and silence is violence, and inaction is reprehensible, right? You have to get in the fight. You have to, hoorah. Okay, cool. How many, that's, the fact of the matter is, change on a community level doesn't happen at the federal level. Why would you think that's where the shit in your community is going to change? How many of these people are going to PTA meetings? How many of these people are going to local community hearings, right, with their local governments? How many of these people are volunteering in their communities? How many of these people are going to food drives and food banks and donating blood and doing the little fights, the day-to-day actions that you can take to actually make a pretty huge difference in your community. You can go get a petition going. You can take that to your local government. You can say, hey, I got 12,000 people that say that there should be a community garden over here and there's room for it, and you guys aren't doing anything with that land. It hasn't been developed, blah, 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 right? You can get a little community garden going. You can put a little park over here, right? You can say, hey, we don't want foreign investors from other countries coming in here and buying up residential neighborhoods and then renting them back to us at sky-high rents. You can do that. That's not the federal government's job. That's literally the point of states' rights. That's literally the point of getting involved with your community, is that we're not supposed to be relying on the federal government and some almighty presidential figure to fix the shit in our communities. We're supposed to be doing that ourselves. I live in Florida. We just had 2 horrible hurricanes. People were out in droves. They said, fuck FEMA. People were out in droves in the community, helping each other, picking stuff up, getting the water out of restaurants, right? Getting the streets cleared, helping the line people have room to work, bringing them lunches, because they were out there working 24 hours a day trying to get the power back on for people. That's how community works. It doesn't happen at the federal level. These people don't give a shit about you. And if you give a shit about them, I just view you as a sycophantic cult member. And there's another side to this. And this is where this is going to go off the rails. And you're going to be like, oh, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. You're not wrong. I'll tell you why politics are bullshit. I'll tell you what I believe. I'm not going to go into detail here because, my God, it's just too easy. It's too easy for people to be like, well, he's a crazy person. But I'm not crazy. The world is crazy. The fact of the matter is, there's like a dozen families that have accumulated multi-generational wealth between Europe and the United States. And you're talking about oil, you're talking about paper, you're talking about agriculture, you're talking about pharmaceuticals, families like DuPont, right? Families like the Rockefellers. And I'm not going to go into the whole Illuminati thing, right? Because why? You don't even need to. You don't even need to get involved in conspiracy theories to make this point. You can just stick to objective reality and be correct. The power at the top is driven by finances. If you look at what the president makes, if you look at what senators make and what governors make, they don't really make that much money. They don't make a ton. They don't make what you'd think they make, right? They don't make millions of dollars. Unless you're Nancy Pelosi, in which you're the greatest stock trader of all time, you know? Just so good at picking those stocks. Just so good at it. You know? She's doing okay. But the power and wealth that has accumulated at the top through multi-generational wealth and industries that have had an absolute chokehold on our government. That's where the power is, dude. It's in these lobbyists. It's in these super PACs. It's in these people that just have so much influence on policy and government. And that's the way it's always been. By the way, ancient Egypt, yeah, wasn't the pharaohs that had any fucking power. It was the priesthood. Now apply that to literally all of human history from Egypt to now, and you're getting it. You're understanding history. It wasn't the kings. It wasn't the queens. It wasn't the presidents. It wasn't the czars. It was the priesthood. It was the families that knew how to hold on to multi-generational wealth and accumulate power through industries that whatever country they were in were dependent on, and the countries around them were dependent on, you know. That's it. I don't think that the president has nearly as much power as you think they do. I think that the money involved in donating to candidates has way more influence than you think it does. And I ultimately think that when the president gets in there, it's a big shock of, oh wow, this is actually, I'm a puppet, and I get to pretend like I have some agency by making day-to-day decisions, droning this village over here or that village over here. But the big stuff, like why don't we have term limits? Why don't we say to ourselves collectively as a society, you know what? Lifelong politicians who only have a vested interest in maintaining the power and will lie to whoever they need to keep that power. Maybe that's not a good thing. You know, maybe we should have limits so those people can't stay in office for fucking ever, right? There's a reason why Plato was like, the idea of philosopher kings as like the perfect idea of a ruler, weren't allowed to own land. They weren't allowed to have private property, right? They weren't allowed to be married and have families. Because the second that you have families, the second that you have private property and own land and title, you now have a vested interest in growing that swath of wealth. And you are, by that seed, corrupted from your responsibilities of overseeing a society, right? And that's just like the philosophical seed of corruption. Every human being in politics is susceptible to corruption. The powers that be and the influences in DC just make it really fucking easy. Okay, so I hate politics. And here's the other thing too. People that give a shit about politics, like really, really, really care. They're like really, really anti-Trump. They're like really, really for Trump. They're really, really pro-Kamala. They're really, really anti-Kamala. If you tell them, hey, I don't care. I don't believe in your cult. They do what any good cult member does, and they treat you like you're an idiot. They treat you like your inaction is evil. They can't just be like, oh, cool, dude. Well, this is something that I care about. You care about different things, blah, blah, blah. No. They're so, like, it's like a face hugger, dude. And they just can't get it off. Oh, my God. Politics. Oh, I love it. Oh. They can't free themselves from the cult. I watch videos of, and this is a little bit about me. I watch videos of C-SPAN from like the 1970s, from like the 1980s. It's so interesting how people used to talk to each other and treat each other in the Senate, in Congress. It wasn't like what you see today. It wasn't so hate-fueled. There wasn't so much vitriol, you know? It wasn't... But that brings me to another point, which is this. There was an investigation during the first presidency of Trump into Russian influence into our election. And they found that at the Kremlin, they basically put up all these people in this building, and they were just firing out tweets. And they were building Facebook groups, and they were doing it at a multitude that is really, 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 really insane. And they were inciting violence and rage and riots on both sides. They would create Black Lives Matter organizations on Facebook, and then they would literally coordinate meetings and protests from the other side of the world. And this was Russian disinformation agents doing this. And they would also do it with like Antifa groups, and they would also do it with groups on the right, like Proud Boys and whatever other groups, you know, they would. So these were all, like, not all of them, but like a large amount of them were the hate that was fueled and the vitriol that was being poured on the fire was actually happening from a bunch of pimply face 20-somethings in a unmarked office building next to the Kremlin in Russia. This is objective fact. It exists in the report that came out at that time. And this is let me ask you a question. You ever see that thing online, right? You can see them on Twitter, you can see them on Facebook, whatever your platform is of your choice, where someone will post a picture of a cloud, right? And they'll be like, if you're left brain, you see a dog. If you're right brained, you'll see an umbrella. When like the cloud is like clearly and objectively an elephant. And you look at the comments and it's just people being like, I don't see that. I see an elephant. What? Does anybody else see an elephant? Am I crazy? Did I see an elephant? Everybody see an elephant? Dog, what? Umbrella. Huh? That's so much of the internet now. And that do you guys know what dead internet theory is? It's not a theory anymore, baby. It's the idea that the vast majority of internet activity is fake. It's not real. It's fake accounts. It's bots. It's not real human beings. And if it is real human beings, it's grifters. It's rage baiters. It's people there trying to work on behalf of an agenda, right? Not real human beings saying real things. Some of the lowest reports I've seen are 49%. And, you know, people that are in the know and like in that sector of study, they're really worried because as soon as it reaches 51%, as soon as like 51% of the internet is has a high probability of being fake, then what we've actually done is we've taken the old media machine and we've turned the internet into that. We've turned the internet into a perfectly customized, data scraping, tailored to your brain and swiping behaviors, just this perfect manipulation machine. And we've given it all the power, all the data, and we've given it to these bots that are then able to steer us whichever way they want us to go. Do they want us to care about, you know, Ukraine and Russia today? Oh no, we need to care about Israel and Palestine tomorrow. Oh no, who are we fighting today? Oceania? Is it 1984? Who's making these decisions? It's not real people. I watched a Philip DeFranco video recently, and I commented, I was like, dude, what the fuck happened to you, dude? You're talking like a million miles an hour. You need to breathe. You don't look well. And the first like 3 minutes of your video is just a rant against Trump. And it's like, I remember when that guy used to like do the news, but I just can't. As soon as people start talking about politics, dude, I just get so like, put off by it because I just see just full on brainwash being like, God damn, dude, go like take a walk and feed your dog. Like go do something that matters. Caring about politics is really the lowest form of conversation. And you have to literally, you have like I think there's like 100+ biases that like a human being has, right? And it's almost like the people that really care about politics, how I view them, is they wake up every morning and they go, biases engaged. Yeah, now I can't think for myself. Sweet. TV's gonna tell me what to think. Yeah, can't wait to get in political, ideological debates today. I can just feed my own biases. And then they get on their phone and they go, how can I feed my bias? Oh yeah, I don't like that guy. Give me more of that. Oh yeah. Oh, this person's we gotta fight for this person. This person's gonna change the world. Yeah. Oh, that's the guy I hate. This isn't how humans are supposed to live. This isn't how the brain is supposed to function. This is not how knowledge is supposed to be used. This is not how wisdom is supposed to be gained. You're living in the fucking matrix. You're living in a political paradox cult. Break out, dude. Anyway, I just wanted to make a fun November 5th video, dude, because I think it's really funny that people are like getting like super jacked about it. You know, I saw the thing of like AOC and Tim Walz playing video games on Twitch. I thought that was funny, dude. I watched the you know, they're really doing whatever they can They're trying to just put themselves. I just can't. If you are into politics, I cannot take you seriously. I cannot. Because you're going to go, hey, what's your political stance? And I go, I don't have one. What's yours? You're going to be like, well, obviously I like this person on this side, and because the other person on the other side is no good, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to immediately go, okay, so you care about change and community and the betterment of the world. When's the last time you volunteered in your community? And that's because they're full of shit. They don't want to work to change their community. They don't actually care about the goodness in the world that needs to be saved from the darkness. What they want is an easy little lazy pill that they can swallow to make themselves feel better. And that is called brainwashing. That is called a cult. That is called subscribing to a political ideology that you neither really understand I'm burnt out. I've talked about this for 26 minutes and I'm burnt out. I hate politics, dude. So that's my general feeling. Yeah, sure. Sometimes once in a while things happen that affect society at large, right? Sometimes those things are great. Sometimes those things are terrible. But my point is this. They're never really going to affect your life to the magnitude that you waking up every day and really deciding how you want your life to look like and what you want your community to look like. And they're never going to be, no matter what happens in politics, it's never going to outweigh your day-to-day decisions in your community to try to make it a better place for you and your neighbor, period. But before we do that, we actually have to, care about our neighbor and not see them as a demonic human being who believes in the other party, Damn. I don't know. Fuck politics. Fuck both candidates. I'm not voting. Have a great day.